Hi, I'm Astrologer Penny Dix, and welcome to my in-depth look at this month's, January's, full moon in the sign of Cancer. Now, it's on the 13th of January. It's at 22:26 GMT, and the degree it's at is 23 degrees and 59 minutes. And the full moon itself is actually in the 10th house of the chart, which of course is interestingly, this axis of Cancer Capricorn has kind of done a swap, because Cancer rules the 4th house where Capricorn is, and Capricorn rules the 10th house where the full moon is, and Cancer. So what do we make of this? Because probably the best thing I can do now is to get the wonderful Jerry to make the chart magically appear above my shoulder. And as you can see, I decided to relocate. I don't know if this is permanent, but this is a year of change. And I thought maybe I will just try some of my videos in a different location and see how I feel. It certainly works for the live streams because it seems that I'm nearer the router. So this means that the signal doesn't get so interrupted. It's only taken me several years to work that one out, but there we go, and here we are. Let's get back to this full moon. So Cancer Capricorn axis, we have to think about this because this is cardinal energy. This is energy that likes to initiate change, which I think is interesting because Cancer is the sign of the mother, of nurturing, of caring, of feeding, of the home, of the family. And the full moon, the moon itself, is in the sign it rules, Cancer. But you've got this kind of flip of the energy because you've got Cancer on the 10th house, which is normally where Capricorn is, and Capricorn on the 4th house, which is normally where Cancer is. And the interesting thing about this chart also is that the 4 quadrants are all at 0 degrees, which I just find very interesting. And the north and the south node are on the descendant ascendant axis. So there's some interesting configurations in this full moon to think about. A moon is never just a moon. It's full. And if you've not already spotted the kind of significant placement of the planet Mars, let's have a look at where Mars retrograde is now. It has, of course, returned to the sign of Cancer. And really, because the moon is nearly at 24 degrees, it's conjunct the full moon. So Mars and the full moon are conjunct. This is, okay, this is what's coming to me. This is a messy ending. This is something that gets perhaps over emotional, over thought, and harshly dealt with. Now, as you know, I work intuitively and I channel. So I'm just telling you what is coming in for me as I look at this chart. And I look down at where the sun is in Capricorn. Capricorn is about leaders, governments. It's about structure. It's about keeping it, it's ruled by Saturn. So it's very much about structure and timing. This is the ending for a world leader. Now, we are actually seeing quite a few tumbling at the moment. Trudeau in Canada has resigned. I literally, just before I came on to start recording this video, which is on Tuesday the 7th of January, I saw that Jean-Marie Le Pen has died in France. And he was the leader of the far right. And I thought, whoa, this is interesting stuff. And we haven't even got to the full moon yet, but we are in its energy. So the 7th of January, we are like a week away, as I record this, from the full moon. So from now on in, depending when you're watching this, you are going to feel this energy building. Mars conjunct the moon is going to make us feel irritated, frustrated. My cats are having an argument at the moment, so they are absolutely acting out the energy of this full moon. I'll just let them carry on because I don't really want to go back and start this video again, because it's never quite the same when I restart, because it's the first thought that comes when I start the video that is usually the purest and the most intuitive. So I also want to look at Mercury, that is now by the 13th in the sign of Capricorn. Mercury in Capricorn in the 4th house. So the 4th house we know is traditionally a Cancer house, and the full moon is in Cancer. Mercury is at 7 degrees, and it is making a very, very loose sextile to Saturn in Pisces, suggesting calm, clear, structured communication is the way forward at the moment in anything of a relationship and an emotional nature. Now, this is because both the North and the South node are on the ascendant and descendant. So the North node is conjunct the descendant, which means the other, the significant other in our lives. And the South node is conjunct the ascendant. This is something that we are bringing in with us that has already been with us for some time. And this full moon is urging for resolution, for completion, for change, for ending, for resolution. And what it's suggesting with Mars here retrograde in Cancer, so Mars is applying to get close to the point where the full moon is. It's like it's saying, it doesn't have to be messy. It doesn't have to be untidy. Whatever this ending might be it with a friend, a business associate, a dear one, a loved one, a family member, a best friend, whatever it is, it doesn't actually have to be an ending. It can be a transition, a transformation. Now, this is a theme that you might have noticed has come up quite a lot in my videos of late. There is something, because we've had this Mars-Pluto opposition, and of course they are still loosely in opposition, albeit Pluto is now at 1 degree of Aquarius, and Pluto and Mars, of course, is at 27 degrees retrograde, moving away from its opposition with Pluto. But nevertheless, that energy is still there. And whatever was going on for you a couple of weeks ago and last November in 2024 is still kind of applying. It's almost like the sword of Damocles hanging over your head. It's something you know you have to deal with, be it with work, be it with friendship, be it with a significant relationship. There is something that needs to be addressed. And this full moon is really highlighting it. Look at Jupiter up there in the 9th house in Gemini. Jupiter is still retrograde. And Jupiter is squaring both Saturn and Venus that are conjunct in Pisces. So let's just think about that at the moment, because Saturn rules Capricorn. Saturn, therefore, is the kind of opposition ruler to the moon, to the full moon. There is weight, and I mean that in terms of weight. There is weight in the opposition to whatever it is that is trying to be changed, ended, got rid of. And as I've said before, it doesn't always mean that we have to throw the baby out with the bathwater. You know, what we have to do with significantly difficult situations in our lives with others is move into our adult self. Because adults will look for ways to find a solution to whatever problems may be in the way of a relationship unfolding in a smooth way. And Jupiter squaring Saturn and Venus is really suggesting, don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. Don't get lost in confusion and delusion, illusion, not seeing things clearly, really kind of feeling as if everything is falling away. It's a little bit like picking up very fine sand and it just slips through your fingertips until there is nothing left. It doesn't have to be that way. And I mean, we could always also use the analogy of water, because remember, Saturn and Venus are in Pisces. So that is water. So it's trying to hold water in your hands, to nourish yourself, to drink. It's not that easy. You have to be quick. It's all about timing. Saturn is about timing. Now let's also look at Neptune that rules Pisces, because Neptune is at 27 degrees of Pisces and 31 minutes in the 6th house of this chart, trining Mars. So Mars is like actually saying, I can help you cut through the illusion, the confusion that you may have about certain situations. If you take a step back and really think about it succinctly and clearly. Mars is also, as is the full moon, and the full moon is virtually exact, sextiling Uranus retrograde in Taurus. Now, Uranus is going direct soon at the end of this month. And, you know, this is like a bow being pulled back and then off it goes. And it will move forwards and will bring an enormous amount of finality and change for people who are born under the sign of Taurus from about the, let's say, 14th, 15th of May to the end of May. Now, the full moon sextiling Uranus is saying, don't think the worst. Just because things might be a little bit screwed up, dodgy, complicated, work with it. Find a way through. Find a better solution. Things don't always have to end dramatically, because Uranus is also, remember, Uranus is our planet of the unexpected shock. It's electric. It's about surprise and sudden events. And it's like it's saying something unexpected can come in if we allow ourselves the freedom of thought to allow the signs to be shown to us, to not get so caught in our mind and our thinking that we prevent ourselves from actually having that first thought, which I was talking about at the beginning, where with that first thought, we actually know what something is about. We know when to strike. We know when to take action. We know when to be in touch with the cardinality of the full moon and the sun, when to initiate something. If we overthink it, we get out of the rhythm. We get out of step with ourselves. So Uranus trining the sun is, and sextiling the full moon is really being helpful here and saying, really be innovative. Think outside the box. Think of different ways that you can solve problems and difficulties in your life. Now, obviously, depending on your rising sign will determine the area of your life that you can expect the focus of this full moon to be in. And this is just the event chart. So this is pretty broad and pretty general. But I still think, because somebody asked me in the comments about, I think in a sense, the how it can be difficult to get a sense of what it means for one personally, because what do you listen to, your sun sign or your rising sign? And I say, listen to both, because you will actually gain information from both that will resonate with you. And it's not about making things up or making it fit. What you hear, what you see is what you're meant to hear and what you're meant to see. So it in many ways is actually quite simple. Now with this full moon, the emphasis is about relating. It's about me and you, or you and me, and how we make that work. So think about that in whatever area of your life seems to be center stage for you at the moment. It's about how you solve a situation with another. It could be a situation with yourself. For instance, if the full moon is in the 6th house, so that the sun is in the 12th house, this could be about your psychological growth. This could be about a physical problem that has to be addressed, and the difficulties that can come with that. So, you know, if I just run round what each house represents, so that if the full moon for you in Capricorn is your 1st house, it's very much about you and how you come across to others. So it's about your relationship with you and what you might want to let go of in your kind of behavior or your habits. If the full moon for you in Capricorn is in your 2nd house, it's about what you own, how you make your money. It's about where you live. It's about how you know, if you own property, are you thinking of making changes? Are you thinking of selling it? Or if you rent, are you thinking of moving? That can be something that can come up with a full moon in the 2nd house. Also, are you thinking of making some adjustments to your financial kind of situation and finding better ways to stop the money flowing out and make sure you accrue it rather than rue the day that you went out and splashed out? Now, if Capricorn is your 3rd house, which is where the full moon is, it's about communication, how you communicate with others, especially in your local neighborhood. It can also be to do with cars and machinery and things like tech stuff and social media. So do you need to give yourself a break from social media? That could be what the full moon in the 3rd in Capricorn is about for you. The full moon in the 4th in Cancer, sorry, if I meant for all the other houses, Cancer. If the 1st house is Cancer, that's where the full moon is. I'm getting them all discombobulated. So the 1st house, the full moon is Cancer. The 2nd house, if you've got Cancer on the 2nd, that's where your full moon is. If your 3rd house is Cancer, that's where your full moon is. If your 4th house is Cancer, this is where the moon is most comfortable, and this will very much be about home and family, commitments to family, looking at making changes, thinking about moving, changing your location. That still applies to the 2nd house and Cancer on the 2nd as well. The 5th house, if the full moon is in Cancer in your 5th house, is about your creativity. Can also be about love affairs, and maybe there's been a little romance going on, and or a flirtation, maybe a flirtation at work or at something that you're a member of, a club that you go to regularly, and maybe it's gone past its sell-by date, or it needs to graduate to a different level and transform into something a little bit better. If Cancer is on your 6th house, where the full moon is, then it is about, on one level, your health and your psychological health. It can also mean you need to pay attention to your breast area and your stomach area. It may just be that you are churned up emotionally because of that Mars there, which is pushing all your buttons. If you've got Cancer on the 6th house, if you've got Cancer on the 7th house, where the full moon is, then it's very much about your personal relationships and how you can make them work better. Relationships don't have to end. They can transform. At least most can. But I do think it's really important that we reach a point as adults to, if a relationship really has to end and you have to go separate ways, that closure is in a good way, that is good for both parties, that both parties move away from each other empowered and not debilitated. If Cancer is on your 8th house, if that's where the full moon is, then it's very much about your joint ventures financially, any assets you have. It can be to do with legalities and wills, but also with transformation. This could be a hugely transformational full moon for you. And if you've got Cancer in the 9th house where the full moon is, then you're going to be thinking about your knowledge and how you can improve your knowledge and what you want, and looking at things, ways that you can really learn more about the spiritual side of your personality, of your soul, of your psyche. The full moon in Cancer in the 10th house is about career and your soul path and your soul journey. And conjunct Mars, as we say it is, it may be a decision to actually, interestingly, to return to something, to return to a project, a job, a dream, an idea that you'd shelved, or you may be re-offered something that you thought wasn't on the table. If Cancer is in your 11th house, so that this is where the full moon is, then it's about getting out there in the public. Stop hiding away. Get out there, be seen. Connect with people. You need to have positive interaction to build up the serotonin levels to get you out and about. The same could go for Cancer and the full moon in the 12th house too. Because the 12th house is where we go within. It's where our psyche takes us into those inner depths and we analyze and overanalyze and ruminate. But it's a full moon. So maybe it's about recognizing, if we move into our adult part, about letting go of some of the inappropriate habits that don't suit us any longer. You know, we can get very stuck in certain ways of behavior. We can get very stuck in our inner child. So we can be walking around as 69-year-olds, behaving like toddlers. Or we can be walking around as 30-year-olds, behaving like 80-year-olds. Neither are quite really what we need. We need to be who we are. We need to be authentically who we are in ourselves. And I think there is something about this Cancer full moon, because the moon is in the sign it rules. Cancer is about love, nurturing, caring, feeding. Feed yourself on good information. Feed yourself on positivity. Feed yourself literally with food that is positive and good for you and nourishing. And that Mars, it's like, try and remember what was going on for you around, I'm thinking around June and July. Because maybe there is something that was happening for you then that is in the sense of how you were feeling or how you were behaving. Is that something that you've got caught in that you need to let go of with this full moon? So I think that's all I want to say. So Jerry, we can take away the chart. God, I'm nearly falling off the sofa here. I'm fairly comfortable here. I mean, I like the setting. I think it feels quite good. We'll see. Let me know in the comments what you think of this as a permanent position for the videos. I don't think I could do a very long video, but I could, because I'm not as comfortable as in my, what I call my office chair or my office area. And all one-to-one sessions will still be in my office area and not in this location, because it's just easier for me because I've got all my stuff around me. But listen, thank you for joining me for the full moon. I really wish you a transformative and interesting kind of full moon of emotional maturity. Don't let people push your buttons. Take a step back. We've still got that Mars Pluto. It's going to be around till it really moves off back, you know, further forward rather, in April, May, June. Once we've got really beyond those dates, we're free of it. But until then, we are going to feel sometimes like people are pushing our buttons. Remember, respond, don't react. And if we do that, actually, do you know what? Everything's usually okay. So there we go. That's what I think this full moon is about. I'll probably talk about it more in depth when we do the live week ahead. So Please remember, as always, I really appreciate you liking, subscribing, and commenting and sharing. And thank you to all you new subscribers. I will hopefully provide content that will keep you engaged and entertain you, and hopefully that you can learn something from. So, I think it's very much a learning process, astrology, and it's interesting listening to all astrologers' different takes on, say, full moons, because we all bring in something new and different. And no one astrologer is right and no one astrologer is wrong. We just all have a different perspective of it. And ain't that cool? And the more we get of that, the better. So on that note, thank you so much for joining me. And I look forward to seeing you again very soon. Bye for now.